On today's episode, we compare the ARB twin air compressor to a copy from China. Is it the same thing, just cheaper, or is it just a good looking knockoff? Stay tuned to find out. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. So a few weeks ago I decided that I was going to install onboard air on my Jeep. After doing a lot of research online, I decided to go with an ARB twin air compressor. If you guys want to see more on that, I'll put the video in the description and up in the corner for you guys to see. While looking around for the best possible price for an ARB air compressor online, I discovered that there are sellers on Amazon, AliExpress, and some other shady websites that are selling what looks to be an ARB air compressor, but it's not branded as ARB. To my knowledge, ARB is made in Australia, so I decided that I was actually going to order one and do a comparison for you guys so you don't have to go through the trouble of discovering what I did. And it's not only the twin air compressor, it's pretty much the whole ARB lineup that you could purchase from China, including lockers and everything that ARB offers when it comes to their air systems. And it's all for a fraction of the price directly from China. So after ordering a non-ARB twin air compressor on Amazon, I finally received it in the mail. All right, so let's unbox this beauty and see what we got here. So first of all, this is the way it was shipped. It's, as you can tell, just completely loose in the box. The bag is ripped, and this thing is all beat up from shipping. Now, not a big deal. I could clean all this up. So obviously this thing has been tossed around quite a bit inside the box. Now the other issue is that happened here. It looks like one of the silica gel bags burst in here because everything was packaged as a joke. So it's all covered with silica. And one of the tabs right here on the connector is pretty much broken off. It's held in by one piece that's left over, and that's being probably from tossed around in the box during shipping. You can tell it's all scratched up and beat up. Shipping issues and packaging issues aside, let's set this thing off to the side. Let's see what else we got in the box. So we have the wiring harness. So this is the wiring harness for the lockers and for the bypass switch. Seems like it's all very similar to ARB, almost identical if anything. And then we got the power wire. So the power wire, same thing with the fuses. Everything looks identical. And it's got a part number tag on here, but it doesn't have the same tags as the ARB one does. So this is pretty much, I mean, even down to, let's open this up. Even down to the way that it's packaged, this is the same. They even have the same ties on here that the ARB did. I mean, this is pretty much identical. See the fuses. Same 40 amp fuse. I mean, this so far is pretty much one-on-one as the ARB. Oh man, all that silica gel is down there. All right, so these are the breathers. And as you can tell, it doesn't... It was shipped damaged. Filter inside, just like ARB, except it doesn't say ARB, and they're all scratched up. Looks like they've included hardware. It is slightly different than the ARB. ARB has the black, everything black, or has the black bolts, and they included washers here, and they've also included your terminal connectors, which ARB does not. Here is the switch, pretty much. Let's pull the ARB one. So here's the switch they've included. It's a light up blue switch for the compressor. And again, well, it just says compressor on there. Here's the ARB one. This one says ARB. That's the difference between the switches. I mean, it's the same thing, just slightly different switch. I mean, this is not something that's a big deal. I mean, I use these types of switches and these types of switches for things, so I know the switch is not an issue. Man, this stuff is going to be everywhere. It's already coming out the corners of the box here. All right, instructions. Looks like simple stapled printed pieces of paper. Actually, if you look, they basically, so this is the ARB booklet. They basically copied everything from the ARB, and they just tried to mask out the ARB. They just photoshopped stuff so you can't see the ARB. And this one, that's the one that's photoshopped. Even for the switches, I believe these are the old ARB switches, and again, they just literally put a little thing over it so you can't tell that it was ARB. Part number, model number, and part number exactly the same. I love what they did here. Copyright by ARB Corporation Limited, and they have copyright Off-Road Corporation Limited. Kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up my whips to the Jeep, and I'm going to air down all the way to 0, and we're going to time how long it's going to take for the legit ARB air compressor to fill up my 37s by 12.5s to 28 psi, which I'm running right now in my tires. And then we're going to swap out and do the same thing with a not so ARB twin air compressor, and we'll see what the difference is. Maybe it'll be the same thing. Alright, so I got all 4 of my tires hooked up, and now we're going to just air down all the way. Alright, all 4 tires are flat. That's weird. My Jeep's kind of lower too. We are at 0 psi. What I'm going to do now is start the ARB, and we're going to time it how long it's going to take for us to get back to 28 psi. Here we go. .3 psi, and it took 8 minutes and 27 seconds. So Now I get to do it all over again, and we're just gonna let the air back out. Also, immediately after filling up the tires, I took a reading on the temperature, and the highest that I got for the ARB was about 118 degrees. My tires are aired down again, and now I'm gonna pull my ARB, and we're gonna attach the not ARB and see what the difference is. The wires are actually shorter coming off of the air compressor. My only concern is, will it fire up? Alright, let's see if it'll actually fire up. Ooh, it did. Ooh, it sounds different. Here we go. It's actually a lot quieter than the ARB, but the fan seems to be spinning on it, and it looks like we are going up. We are at 1 psi at 49 seconds. See, the nice thing would be if the ARB would actually sound like that, but it doesn't. It's a lot louder than what this is. I'm assuming because the internals are completely different. Alright, we are at 28 psi in 9 minutes and 26 seconds. So it took about a minute longer to fill. The highest temp I got is 153. So it's definitely running a lot hotter and slightly slower. Alright, so I just got off the phone with ARB, and I guess I wanted to find out more answers directly from them rather than me assuming something or Googling some information that might possibly be wrong. I asked him if I could use the phone call in the video, and he didn't agree to it just because he wasn't sure about the answers that he was giving me. From that conversation was that he's not really sure how the whole process works and how China is getting their hands on an ARB product to the point that they're pretty much essentially identical from the outside. Now, the other thing that I got from the conversation was that they have actually received a fake ARB multiple times for service or repair, only to find out that it's not ARB and the internals are completely different, which really matches up with what I'm seeing so far without ripping these compressors apart and comparing it side by side. And in fact, I really didn't have to take them apart because you are able to look inside through the filter flange and see that there is a definite difference between the two. ARB uses a Allen cap screw to hold the piston assembly onto the axle. The knockoff, on the other hand, uses a very shisty looking axle with a machine groove in it that has a retainer clip that holds the bearing. And taking a closer look at it, you can see that the inside is all covered in a layer of rust. So I guess I don't even have to take it apart to show you guys side by side. The point is that if you buy one of these knockoffs and something goes wrong, you are basically stuck with a paperweight because you're not going to be able to find parts for it and fix it or service it. So let's take a closer look side by side in this can you find the difference game and see what differences we can spot between the two air compressors. Now, the aluminum Heatsink is pretty much identical. The ARB is slightly darker, which whatever, that really doesn't matter. The finish on it looks like the ARB one is a lot more cleaned up. This, you could tell, is a nice powder coat finish. This, on the other hand, I'm not sure. I think this is actually just paint. And you could tell some of the spots here. If you look closely here, you could see the grinding marks are all terrible, really. Definitely a different finish on the piston housing here. This looks like to be anodized. I'm not sure what this is. You can tell behind the fins there's actually machine marks. ARB, on the other hand, is smooth. The plate on here is not seated correctly. I don't know if it's just bent or it just didn't go in the right way or whatnot, but that's not seated like it is on the ARB. Here is different. This looks to be stainless steel hardware. This is just painted hardware. The housing for the motor is actually different. This looks to be cast. Not sure about the ARB, but this is like really not the greatest casting. You could tell all the dimples and everything that's in here. Going to the back, they are using a different fan with a different fan cover. The ARB has a lot less fan blades than the fake one does. So another thing that I noticed was that the fake one was running a 24-volt fan. Now they're probably doing that to cut costs across both models for the 12-volt and the 24-volt. The ARB, on the other hand, is running the proper voltage, and I was able to find a sticker that says made in China, so that's one of the components that ARB imports. After taking a closer look at the wires, I did notice that the knockoff is running smaller gauge wire. Now they look pretty close to the same on the outside, but the difference is that the knockoff actually uses a thicker insulation, but the wire itself is actually thinner on the inside. Now this is a deceitful practice, but it's very common, especially on Amazon, in primary wires and amp install kits. The insulation is super thick, but the wire on the inside is not true to gauge. So I did notice on the box a small writing over here. Registered, designed, patent, designed and manufactured by ARB Corporation Ltd. in Australia using imported and local components. So before I get to my conclusion, I do want to say that I'm not sponsored by ARB or affiliated with them in any way. I bought this air compressor with my own money, genuinely to use it in my Jeep. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I found a lot of these questions online, and a lot of guys on the forums are buying these fake air compressors. Well, I guess now we really kind of know what's on the inside of them and what the whole story behind it is. And essentially, it's just dishonest Chinese manufacturers trying to rip off your hard-earned money, letting you assume that it's the same exact product, just rebranded, not only screwing you, but also screwing manufacturers like ARB that put a lot of time in design and effort in order to stand behind their product, provide warranties, and service. So my recommendation is spend the few extra $100, get yourself the real deal, and buy it from an authorized dealer so you do have the warranty and save yourself the headache down the road. If you guys found the video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out. And also, I would love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are about this, as well as maybe you already have one of these knockoff ARB air compressors for a while. Let me know how that's going for you, because I'm really curious to see what experience others have with this. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Later.